Hello everyone, my name is Jordan, also known as X-3. Today we're going to be just arranging and filling in some of the effects for our deep house track. So let's get into it. So the first thing I'm going to do is highlight my percussion loop and hold shift and click on my warm drone. Click and hold one of the clips to select all of them. They should turn transparent. Hit tab and drop them down to a new note lane in your scene launcher. So now that we have all these different scenes and they're captured, what I'm going to do is basically create a new MIDI track. And I'm going to call this arrangement. And the cool thing about this is that you can also right click it and turn it a different color. So I'm gonna take my arrangement, I'm gonna take it up to the top, and I'm gonna make my first 5 bars, make a MIDI clip, and color it something pretty. And rename it. We're going to rename this as intro. So the structure of a deep house track is similar to a trance track, but we don't, it's more mixing in with all the elements and then dropping them out. So I'll show you what that is here in a minute. But right now for our intro, what I'm going to do is take everything, highlight it, and move it out of our, that's kind of weird, move it out of our readily accessible space. So like for our first 5 bars, just move it out. We're gonna take our percussion and put it in here. So that's gonna run for 5 bars. And I noticed for the drums, oh, by the way, I'm holding Alt Option on my Mac keyboard. That might be Control or something like that. There should be Alt or Option on the PC. But anyways, that's what I'm doing. I'm just copying parts over. And for our kick drum, our first loop, we can see that it has multiple parts. But that's going to basically, this is our main kick drum, our main loop. So what I want to do is double click to go inside. And I want to just like remove some of the elements. So I'm going to remove the snare, the clap, and the hats. So now we just have a basic kick drum and all basic loop. So I'm going to rename this and call this 1. I'm going to take this to my scene and replace one of the beats because we need to have these clips numbered so that way it will start to, we won't get confused later on when we arrange more parts. So now that we have this number 1, I'm just going to copy and paste it over. And for our bar number 3, I'm going to copy this, but I'm going to go inside here. Actually, what I'm going to do is copy over my main drum. And what I'm going to do is just delete the hats instead of the claps and snare. So now let's have a listen to what we have. It's a little bit of a better intro to verse. It's a little bit better. So now that we have this, what I'm basically going to do is, you can delete this if you need to, but I'm just going to move it across my session view and slowly borrow parts from this. So for my 5th bar, what I'm going to do is copy over my intro. So it's exactly 5 bars long. And copy this over again. Because an intro needs to be 5 to 9 bars long. And just delete 1. Move over. Oh yeah, I forgot to rename this and call this 2. And just drag it on over to your session. And for our main beat over here, I'm going to call this 3. Just dragging it over to keep track of everything. Okay, so gonna copy it on over and loop this. So one of the things that we need to have is we need to have an effect lane. So I'm gonna right click and create an audio track. And I'm gonna rename this to FX. Okay, so for the effects unit, we need to create a new return chain. So insert return track. Rename this long delay. And the long delay is basically going to be a compressor. And it's going to be a ping pong delay. Set the ping pong delay to 2 or 4. I'm going to choose 4. 2 and 4 will work for this example. So I'm going to choose 4. I want to take this down to 1.24 kilohertz and 2.05 for the Q. And take my dry wet back to about 25%. Okay, so now that we have our long delay, I'm just going to take the threshold down to negative 15.6 decibels, and that's it. Don't mess with any of the attack or release. It's perfectly fine the way it is. So now, what I'm going to do is go to my sample pack, and I'm going to choose from one of these sample packs good effects. So I'm going to go to Progressive Promo. They usually have large sounding effects that really come in handy for this. So I'm going to open this up, go to Effects. I like this last one. So I'm going to drag it onto the track, open it up, and I want to take out my fades. If you work in Live 8, you will have access to the fades. If you don't, you can always go to the mixer and choose track volume and do it this way, like by creating a new note lane and drawing it out. But if you do have fades, go ahead and turn it on and just drag a little bit in front of this clip. I'm also going to rename this as impact. So now that we have this impact, what we need to do is we need to turn down the volume. So I'm going to take it down to negative 10. And we're going to also click on our return boxes to select a new lane for them. And I'm just going to basically put a plus on both of my boxes. So we have long delay and our A reverb. You can always click and drag one of these to reposition them. So what I'm going to do is draw in my first bar right there. And I want to draw it so that way it's a slope, it's a rising down slope for the A. And what this will do is that it will create a bigger impact. And I'm also going to copy this automation by doing Command C. Every time I say command, always replace it with Control. And Command V onto the Mixer B long delay. Now let's have a listen to how this sounds in context with everything. I noticed that these 3 and 4 bars still hold the snares. I'm just going to remove them and replace them with the first 2 bars. And one other thing on the effects, I noticed that it's going to interrupt our frequencies for our kick. So I'm going to drop an auto filter on here, turn it to a high pass, and take it down to somewhere around like 200 Somewhere around there should be fine. So now let's have a listen to how everything sounds. And this is going to be part 1. So I'll see you guys in part 2. I'm going to play you guys out. In part 2, these are gonna be broken up into parts. We're gonna focus on our intro, our verse, our chorus, our double chorus, our breakdown, our verse again, and then our outro. And loop it all together. So each video is going to be on each specific part, so that way when we do day 6 on the final and mastering, for day 7 I'm going to show you guys something a little bit extra you can do with your tracks to really finalize and smooth everything out, kind of like ironing your shirt. So I'll check you guys out for the next part. So I'm just going to play you guys out from here.